If you remember, how long did it take for you to get your first job since you write your first line of code?
If I look into it that way, so I started writing some form of code.
Hello everyone, welcome to our Diary of a Developer. This is the very first podcast that we are planning. We've been planning for quite a long time, me and my team. This is because a lot of history from the senior developers and the developers they are recently in the market has very value for the aspiring future developers. So what we want to do is we want to bring that valuable experience and give it directly to those students who want to build a career so that they have a better idea, better understanding of how they can progress the career. So in this very first episode, I welcome you all, and especially today I would like to start this session by welcoming one of my best friend, one of my very good friend, Geshan Manandar. I wanted to start this whole podcast with him. So welcome to Geshan. Hello, Geshan. Nice to meet you again. Geshan has over 15 years of experience working in 3 different continents. That's how I like to introduce him. And I like to introduce himself.
Yeah, so I'm Geshan Manandar. As Prem already said, I am a senior software engineer, mainly focused on backend. Yeah, I had the opportunity to work in 3 or 4 continents, probably.
Yeah,
somewhere
even
like that.
4, that sounds good.
within the last 15 years. And yeah, I have been in Australia for 5 years plus, something like that. And yeah, it has been a great journey. So yeah, I basically look at myself as a solution provider than just a software engineer. There are problems, and then we software engineers have to provide a solution for it. Mostly it's code, sometimes it's not code. So yeah, that's how I see myself.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Geshanji. So let's go over understanding how he started his coding journey. I always like to know, as a developer, we know that at some point we all start writing code very first time, and then there is some time before we land the job. So I always like to know all the developer history. How long did that actually take you to land the job since you write the code? I know it's been a very long time for you. It's like 20 or probably years. But if you remember, how long did it take for you to get your first job since you write your first line of code?
If I look into it that way, so I started writing some form of code in 2000s, in the early 2000s. So
yeah.
When people didn't have their emails back in Kathmandu, I used to have a website. So that is how and when I started writing code.
Awesome.
But
yeah.
a bit more professionally, or within the academic context, it was more into when I joined my +2 and did my bachelor's.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, I would say easily like 2 or 3 years would be a gap between my first a bit better code and actually landing a job.
Mm-hmm.
My first job was my internship for my bachelor's. Mm-hmm. That converted into being a paid thing, and that is how I actually landed my first job, and it did involve the code, but thanks to the way the bachelor's was structured, I had to do some internship at the last semester.
Oh, wow, okay.
And that is how I got my first tech role. And then from there, I moved into another junior software engineer role, which was much more coding. But yeah, if I come back to the question of how long did it take for me to write my first professionalist line of code and then get a job, I would easily say 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, definitely. I know a lot of students, I see that I want to learn code today and I want to get the job in 3 months. Well, I wish we can give that, magic wand. But yeah, we need to understand that there is always time it takes in order to learn some level of coding, then only we are ready for being hired. And how did you get the internship?
Before
that part of the college?
Before that, yeah, I got it part of my course. College? But just before that, I'll come to that. Mm-hmm. One thing I think people now would be very good for them to understand mm-hmm. is there's a lot of resource online, mm-hmm. and it is a bit difficult to comb through to get to the right information. But in our days, at least when I was actually learning to code, I had a book, and it was 2 a.m. and I was trying to solve something. And
yeah, I started code pretty much, I think, early 2000. I think if I remember 2003. We used to go through the book, exactly. And then I used to write code on the pen and paper. I didn't have a computer. And we used to go to the lab. It was in my +2. And then do the coding in the lab. Write the code in the pen and paper.
Even in our exams, we used to write coding in pen and paper.
Long that paper.
Exactly. That's where I'm trying to relate it. So now people from where we were to now, it's, I would say, a lot easier. The thing that you need to do better now is to comb the right information,
True.
collate it, and then get the right thing out. But think of it, opening a book on your lap at 1 a.m. without internet versus now where you could Google and or ChatGPT and you have your your solution in a matter of like minutes. That's how far we have come, even in terms of learning to code.
I know. And just fun fact that I remember we used to have that load setting issue, and we used to use that kerosene light, you know.
Exactly.
When it goes that, when you wake up in the morning, when you go and look into your face, you used to see that black thing all over the nose. So yeah, I think that when we learn that hard way, we call it learn hard way, you learn right way, I would
Exactly.
say. Yeah, but now because we have like a vast ocean of information, I think most of the time we spend time just finding the right information, and because somebody who hasn't been there yet, they're hardly going to find the right information because they haven't been there yet.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think that was one of the challenges, but now it's lucky everybody has the internet.
Exactly. Now coming back to the question of the internship.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was part of the bachelor's program itself.
Oh, okay.
But even some of my friends who were in the same class, they did struggle a bit to find it. And how I found it was, I was involved with Software Freedom Day and then the First Nepal community. And I already had a couple of people before, like 3 or 6 months before the internship, they were willing to give me that space into their organization. So the other thing there is, build your network. If you have that, like getting an internship is a lot easier.
Yeah, true.
Whereas your internship is in like 3 weeks or 5 weeks from today, and you are still trying to figure out where you want to get it. One final thing about internship is, don't try to get a very big organization. You'll not really learn anything. And don't try to go to a very small organization. There also you'll not learn much things. Try to find something in the middle where
true.
you would be able to absorb or soak up a lot of the information.
Yeah, it's true that even like when I started, I get to learn a lot. When I was working in Nepal, I didn't learn much in terms of like a professional grading deployments. But when I started working in Australia early 2013 as a developer, I basically created the job. That's a long story I'm going to share maybe next time. But I had to work in every part of the kind of, you can think of, IT department. So I get to learn so much so that in like short period of time, I was kind of privileged to learn a lot. What do you love about our industry?
I think the good thing about our industry is it's very welcoming, it's inclusive. I have seen people turn over their career from some other profession and come into our industry. It is something that you need to learn every day. You always need to learn something new. That's a good as well as a bad.
I'm going to come back to the bad.
If you look at it from that perspective. But generally, like, tech is lucrative. You could earn a very good amount of money.
Freedom.
And it is exactly flexible depending upon where you work. Like some people still allow 5 days a week work from home, and you could even like bargain for some time flexibility. But that like, I think those are the like bright sides of being in tech.
Yeah, so just to elaborate, that time flexibility is that I know somebody who asks for the, let's say, job role, I will only work from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. if you like to hire me. I mean, if you have really good talent, guys, you can really ask that request as well, because that's the leverage of especially dev community. I mean, they will put out the task, you just finish within the given time, not really needed to be there right into the office, and that will give you more, of course, I think the freedom and then flexibility, which is really good, especially if you have a family, I would say.
Just to add on it also depends upon the culture of the organization.
True.
So if any organization is forced to do remote work due to COVID, it is very likely that they would call you 2 or 3 days a week inside the office again. But if you find any organization that was remote friendly or allowed remote before COVID, that is even before 2020, even in 2018, 2019, then they are not much likely to call you in, because they can give you that responsibility and that autonomy that you need. And that's where, like, especially in these days, as banks and other places are calling people for 3 or 4 days a week into the office. This is something that I've like clearly noticed. I basically see, was the organization's remote work policy forced by the COVID changes, or was it there even before that? If it was already there even before COVID, then it is not likely that they would call you back.
Yeah,
So just
I
a
think
simple
I think
concept.
I saw like more into the tech space rather than the whole organization like a bank. I think like a tech space, like a startup SaaS company, they are I think slowly moving to the remote as well because of the cost of the premises, having premises, and also they wanted to I think bring that new culture in the team, providing more flexibility so that they are like. That's an indirect way of saying that, hey, I'm giving you flexibility, give us the best product out if you could. I have seen that trend going on as well.
Depends.
Yeah.
So at least in terms of Australia, if you look at the big unicorns, for instance, Canva, I think wants you to come once in a once in
Ooh,
a
once a
quarter,
w-
once in a quarter or something like that.
Yeah.
Atlassian is also very flexible.
Yeah.
And then there are other smaller companies which are pretty flexible. But as I said, like that depends upon the culture and the fabric that they have. But having said that, like this discussion of flexibility, one is the part of the culture, two is where in your career do you stand. If you are a junior software engineer who is just joining in, I would say go to the office two or
Yeah,
three times,
I think
two or
that's
three
very
times a
important.
week,
Yeah.
because you will actually learn a lot of things with people interaction, with whiteboarding,
True.
that for someone like me, or maybe someone who has 5 or 10 years of experience, they could solve a problem within their own. They have that autonomy, they have that skill. But someone who's just starting or has like less than a year or 2 years of experience, it's much better for them to go into the office, have that interaction, have that communication, have that whiteboarding session, and then come to solutions, because that's going to really broaden your mind and really make you think of a lot of things.
True, true. One of the students, she got work, but she got as a remote from the first go. And there was a challenge. So what happened is when you start working in the company, you really need to spend a lot of time understanding that the fitting into the culture, and also understanding their code base so that you can adapt it. And especially when you are new and also not very experienced, it's going to be hard for you to first you are already adapting the culture and
Yeah.
also understanding the code base.
Yeah.
And when usually you ask your colleague or senior to understand the code more, and because you haven't built that relation yet, because you are like not together. When you
Yeah.
are together, you
Yeah.
catch up with the coffee, you have
Yeah.
a journal
Exactly.
discussion, you talk about outside the work environment, and you find that similar passion, and you build that, the relation. And that's why when you ask questions, they are willing to help you. But when you become, let's say, a remote developer from get-go, and let's say you don't have a prior experience, it's going to be hard for you to adapt. That's what exactly happened to her, and I had to basically help her with the code base to understand. So basically, of course, she is not sharing her code base because of the privacy reason, but I basically had to walk her through how to understand the code flow and how to go through that, so that how to write the right questions so that she can learn faster. I think especially if you are starting even internship, working within the like office will definitely help you grow faster, because you can build a relation and ask questions.
Yeah, taking one step back,
Like so.
humans are emotional beings.
True.
And unless you don't have that rapport, you cannot really go into someone's space and try to ask them questions.
True.
Because especially for juniors, you might feel that you are not using that time well for seniors.
True.
So as long as you take that step back and understand that, as I said, like for seniors who have 5, 10 or plus years of experience, it is much easier for them, because they can solve the whole problem within themselves. They have the autonomy and the skills and the resources, right? But especially for juniors who have less than 2 or 3 years of experience, it's better for them to go into the office, build that rapport, understand that humans are emotional beings, and then try to leverage that fact to their advantage.
Yeah, that's a very, very important point. Thank you. Okay, so I want to go to the new, what you call, the realm, or this very over-related, under-related, I don't know what we call it. What do you think about generative AI now? Let's get into the AI. We can't go fast by AI as a developer.
That's a hot topic right now,
Yeah.
as you just said, and it's been there for at least 14, 15 months once ChatGPT came out. Like, generally with generative AI, I think it is a tool to enhance how you work. It's going to make you probably a bit more productive developer. And if you, like any other tool, you need to know how to use it. So, and then you utilize it to the best of your advantage. If you look at it that way, then that's one new thing that you should learn. And the other way to look at it is, I mean, use it, learn it, but don't rely on it.
True.
Yeah, because sometimes what happens is that's where learning the basics come into play again. If you are strong in the basics, even like any generative model or any LLM right now, they would hallucinate. What I mean is they would spit back some code that might not work. And that's where your knowledge and your experience comes, that you should debug and or make that code better and then only use it, right? It's a similar way of how you copy code from Stack Overflow. It might work, but then it might not fit your performance requirements, right? Because someone might have given an answer that works. Of course, yes, it does. But their system might be getting 100 requests per minute. But your system, on the other hand, might be getting 1,000 requests per second. So what they have would work, but then it would cause other issues on your system. That's where the human part, the human experience comes into play on what you should work or what you should not work. Coming back to generative AI, if you haven't explored it, yes, explore it, learn it, use it for making yourself a better and productive developer, yes.
True. Yeah, I also always advise students. Basically, when a student comes to our training, they are strictly not allowed to use any generative AI until they really master the fundamental and principle. Because look, guys, technology changes, framework changes. Like, what did you start first when you started? Like, I started C++, I moved to Java, I moved to .NET, I moved to PHP, and now I'm loving JavaScript ecosystem. How many did you learn through?
Okay, academically, I also started with C++. But I think even before that, I learned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in those days by myself.
There you go.
And then academically, I started with C++, there was Java. Yeah, and all of these things.
Yeah, but all the technology changes over the time. Maybe normally 3 to 5 years, we see some shifting happening in the adoption of the technology.
Coming to that. So I did like PHP for a long time, maybe 6-7 years or and then I moved to Node. And then I did some Ruby in the side, some Python. I did some Go as well, which all of it is production code. So I have production code written on this. Now coming back to the frameworks again. It was 2012 when Angular came in, and it was supposedly the jQuery killer there. jQuery killer right there, right? Yeah. But then 2013-14 when React came in, then it basically overpowered Angular. And
basically, the fun fact, guys, if you don't know, the reason the React killed Angular is not only React was very good, but also because they decided to write the Angular 2 with a complete new infrastructure. That means the existing project has to be rewritten in completely new way. And even developer have to relearn something they've been using. Imagine for the developer, especially senior developer, that's really frustrating. I think that was also another advantage for React to pick
the thing that you need to get out of that is frameworks have a shelf life.
Yeah.
For some it's 2 years, and for some it's 12 years. For example, React, and I think React is facing that issue now with React Server Components and all of it. But that's what everything has a life.
Exactly. But the important is fundamental, the computer science, that doesn't really much change. So if you really master the foundation and fundamental, I think you can switch the framework within a month yourself.
Exactly. So that's where you could think of something like HTTP, written probably 35 or 40 years.
Exactly.
Still works. It just has version 1.1 and 2.0 or something.
Yeah, 2.0.
They have 3 now. But the fundamentals don't change. It's someone requests, gets a response back.
Exactly.
Right. So once you understand something as fundamental as that, and I think I have also asked questions in interviews where I basically ask, what happens when you hit google.com and enter? And what are the steps do you know that happens after that? And then the response comes back. And then it's I mean, if you really go into the depth, it's a lot of steps. But then you need to know that there is a DNS, there is a
of course, the ISP,
ISP somewhere,
DNS, server API,
there is some server there. Then there might be some data store or database, and then everything is coming back. So once you can kind of paint a general overview of this picture, I think you are already at a better place than someone learning React and not learning JavaScript. You know? So that's where you need to first have this, and then you need to learn the basics, and then build upon that foundation.
Exactly, true, very true. Yeah, that's true. So guys, remember, always master the fundamental first, foundation. Don't rush it. More you rush, the less you're gonna focus on fundamentals. And when you try to basically excel yourself as a senior side, you have to go back in the fundamental more, and it's gonna hurt your ego. So
think of your career as a building.
True.
The deeper the base is, the more things you can add on top.
Exactly.
So if you don't have a strong foundation or a base, if you add more things, it's going to fall.
It's going to fall down.
That's where if you
go back to basics
exactly.
again.
If you think of your career, the basics, which is the fundamentals, have to be very, very strong, and then you can add any amount of layers on top of any amount of stories on top of it. But if your base itself is not strong, by that I mean, let's say you have never dug deep into JavaScript and you want to learn the advance of React, it's just going to fall.
No,
that's how you
can make maybe one thing work.
Exactly.
But if something goes behind the scene, that's it. Then it's going to give you a very hard time. Exactly. Yeah, I think how we started with generative AI, and then that's quite extended. That's which is good information. Now, coming back to the AI stuff, so I have met a lot of students who come for consultation and say, hey, the AI is a future, AI is replacing developer, should I learn the development or not? And then like I have to really ask a lot of questions then, who did you listen that from? And then most of the time what I have found is they just have heard that in the online saying, oh, AI is coming, replacing anybody. And they have even taken advice from people, some people who is not a developer and haven't even used AI tools. And they don't probably know how to use AI probably. So I say, bro, do you even code? Just ask that question to them and ask the developer or the AI user, actually in like an advanced level user, see what they say. So what do you have your opinion? What do you want to suggest to those?
Yeah, I think take a history lesson. Everything has revolutions, and after every revolution, it has not been the case that half of the people lost their job.
True.
The industrial revolution, like when computers came in, people said half of the people will not have jobs.
True.
When Excel came in, maybe they said like a lot of people doing a lot of those financial things won't have jobs, but that didn't happen. Yes, of course, with this revolution, some people's job are a bit in a risk. For instance, writers and even actors have made their own unions to kind of fight that. But it's more of a legal and a copyright type of a battle than AI is just coming in and like replacing your job. The thing that you need to understand is in a race between 4 people and a beer, you don't have to be the last person. Right?
Yeah.
By that I mean you need to learn the technology and you have to be just better than the last running person. If it's that case, and then you are running against a bear, as long as you are not the last person, the bear is not going to catch you.
True.
So that's where you need to think 2 steps ahead.
Yeah.
And then I'm not saying that it's not going to completely replace developers, I don't know, in 15 years time, but as of now,
I think I would say developer will be the last one to be replaced because developer are the one who is building the AI
Exactly.
model.
Yes, that's where it would be. But with the current state of things, they are not at the stage to replace any developers at this point. Now, what this might have caused is that the number of junior roles might have become less. Yes, I agree with that, because all the repetitive and the easy to do tasks, they can be automated.
True.
But anything bigger, they cannot be automated. And then what you again need to understand is code is just one part of the whole story.
Exactly.
Deploying it, making it work for like 24 hours a day, that's a completely different ball game. And then I don't suppose any of the AIs at this point, any of the LLMs are very good at that. They do support some of that here and there, but that's where it's, as they say, it's a software development lifecycle where coding is one part of it.
Exactly,
right?
True.
Then the bigger problem always is not how to build it. It's always what to build.
Exactly.
Requirement elicitation is the most difficult part of software development, right?
True.
So I don't suppose an LLM can get you the exact requirements from your product owner or from your customers right now.
Yeah.
Because that is the most difficult part.
True.
How to build is generally easy when you know what to build.
Exactly.
The most difficult part is what to build, and I don't suppose any of the LLMs, again, because as it's called generative AI, it can work on something that you provide and make it better. It always, basically with these chatbots, it needs a prompt and then it gives you something on top of that, right? And a lot of generative AI, a lot of LLMs, they actually say that they are good at summarizing, they are good at synthesizing, or maybe they are good at giving you ideas based on what they learned, right? So that's where things like requirement elicitation, things like running your system to have least amount of downtime. If you have an error, let's say, and that is a issue on Kubernetes, someone having 5 years of Kubernetes will take hours for it to fix. I don't suppose a LLM can fix that, because that is, and then all the LLMs only have the public knowledge.
True.
Right? As soon as there is something very specific to your organization which is not public, they don't know about it.
Exactly.
If they haven't learned it, they can't answer anything about it.
Exactly.
So there are a lot of things, there is a lot of dynamics and a lot of factors that come into play, and it's not easy as AI is going to take your job tomorrow. With the current LLMs, I think it's still, and then there is also a discussion of AGI, which no one has achieved, and probably that's also years down the line. So I don't think having that assumption of AI is going to take a developer's job at least for the next 5 years, I
10 years,
I don't suppose it is a very good assumption to have.
Yeah, and on the top of that, getting back to the, especially for the one who wants to build a career. So you need to think this, two things first. So AI is a future, not now. You probably want to get into the industry now first, one thing, yeah? And then AI is, you think, like maybe replacing, but AI, you can start leveraging the AI from now, get into the industry as soon as possible, leverage that AI, and then become one of the top developers. So if you want to become that future-proof career, so don't hate AI, leverage it, but start your career as a developer, and don't take the advice from everybody. Just take the advice from people who is actually working as a developer, who is actually a AI model builder. You can find the developer, or talk to the very experienced AI user, not with anybody.
Just a couple of things on that. So probably 90% of AI users are API callers right now. They don't even have their own model. They don't even know how to train the data.
Exactly.
They don't know anything. As long as they can call an Open API or I don't know, Gemini API or something,
API, yeah.
that's it. So
just call the API.
I would not even consider themselves machine learning engineers or AI engineers or model builders, because that's a completely, so probably that's 90% of the code.
True.
What they are doing is they are sending a prompt and getting something back.
It's simply like a calling normal.
Exactly. It's a black box for them,
True.
right? And probably these 10% people, they are not going to make this noise because they know what an LLM can do.
True.
So basically an LLM is, in very, very simple words, a calculator for words. As you had calculator for numbers that you use, it's a calculator for word. It just has a lot of computations going on, and it guesses the every other word and the full stop, and then what is written, another sentence. So it's, as someone, I think it was the creator of Django said, it is just a calculator for words. So once you understand that, then your fear becomes lesser. Because as I said, this 10% of people, they are not going to say things like this. That's part one. Part two of this is, don't market yourself as a junior engineer. As I said, junior roles are getting low. So what you need to do is you need to leverage this AI to get into the mid-level roles. If you think of it from that way, I mean, you could use that particular LLM to make your CV better, to learn a new technology, to learn a technology that you know even better. So it's how you frame your questions. It's a non-deterministic programming model. By that, I mean that if two people give the exact same prompt, or if you give the exact same prompt twice, it's going to give different answers, right? So that's why you need to craft your prompts, or you need to know how to use that thing to your advantage more, to like leverage it and then make it work for you. It's not the way that it's going to get your job. It's like you need to leverage it to a point that you could target and or get mid-level jobs, because the market doesn't have many junior jobs at this point.
And also, guys, don't jump to the mid-level. Go from the, when it comes to learning, go from the foundation, fundamental, basic, and then learn the advanced
learning,
stuff.
of course, go all that step. You need a strong foundation. But for the current job market, like even if there are not many junior jobs, you could apply to them, but also don't be afraid to apply for mid-level jobs, even if they ask for a year or 2 years of experience. Because no one expects to check all the boxes, even when they are publishing that particular vacancy.
So basically, you can think of, if you just put job as a junior, so every single person, even who have just started university, will apply for it. Think about the poor guy who is sitting behind that role to take the resume. He's going to end up having thousands of resume. So they wanted to cut out as much as possible and try to get the high skills for the organization.
So what I say is, finding a job is a full-time job on itself, number one, right?
Yeah, until you found the job.
Exactly, until you found the number one. And number two, till the point you don't understand the hiring funnel, you are probably shooting in the dark.
True,
right?
That's very important.
And then the other thing there is, your first introduction of yourself is the resume. And 99% of people, if I ask them what's the purpose of a resume, their answer is ABC, I want to show what I know or something. That's not the case. The purpose of your resume is for the reader to pick up the phone and give you a call, or send you that email to schedule that call. And general research says a recruiter would look at a resume somewhere around 7 to 8 seconds. So if you can't sell yourself within that one-page thing, within that 7 to 8 seconds, don't expect to get a call or an email, right?
Doesn't matter how right fit you are. So you basically did not get the right attention.
Exactly. So that's the start. That's the mouth of the funnel. And then, depending on the company, you have at least 2 or 3 layers of interviews. The first one might be a technical interview, which is your what is JavaScript, what is closer in your JavaScript, blah 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 stuff, right? And then after you pass that, you might have a take-home challenge, and then they would again want to reassess your skills. Then you would have a behavioral interview, which is basically with the engineering manager or something like that. And after that, depending on the company, you would even have an interview with the CTO or the VP of engineering. So once you pass all of that, then there is a test of your references. They would ask for a couple of references. If both the references give good words about you, then only you would land on the offer. Until you don't understand that funnel, just trying to bang your head on the wall is not going to work.
True, very, very true.
And again, applying there. For applying the jobs, you have basically 2 methods, or you could have a mix of these 2 methods. One is spray and pray. You see 100 jobs, you apply to all of them. That's spray and pray that someone's going to reply. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is surgical, very, very strategic surgical operations. By that I mean, you make a list of 5 companies you want to go into, or 5 companies that would practically hire you. For example, if you don't have a PR and you want to go into Google, that's not in the case, because they are not going to even look at your resume. So depending on the situation, make a list of 5 companies that you want to go into. Now, for example, let's say Canva is in your list. Go to LinkedIn and search for Canva talent. You'll at least find one of the talent acquisition people from Canva. Add them to your network. Yeah. Start the conversation. Don't send the first message saying, hey, I saw this job and I want to apply. Don't do that. Start the conversation. Like, I don't know, tell some good things about them. And then after the 3rd or the 4th message, if they reply, that's another thing. Then say, hey, I saw this job. What should be the best way to apply for it? If they say send me a resume, it's better. If they say just apply from the system, then yeah, maybe it might not be the best. Coming back to the thing. So for a job, someone might get hundreds of resumes. That's where someone will see it for 7 to 8 seconds, but then there is a thing called ATS, right? Even before that, and that's going to filter probably half or more of the applications already. And then maybe even if it got 200 job applications, the CVs or the resumes that actually come in front of a person's eye might be 50 or 70,
even less.
Exactly, right? And that's the mouth of the funnel. So if you haven't reached the mouth of the funnel, don't expect to reach like towards the end of the funnel.
So what we call this funnel is basically, I call it job landing life cycle. So I do plan to record special training on that. If it is done earlier, maybe the link will be available soon, but stay connected about that. We're going to go deep down on that topics in the future. For now, okay, so I think we are close to the end, guys. So do you want to add on anything, or do you want to give any special suggestion to especially student who is currently planning to build their career in tech industry as a developer? Any general suggestion to them?
Sure. Yes. So technically, be very strong in your fundamentals. As I said, if you don't know HTML, if you don't know HTTP, if you don't know JavaScript, don't try to learn React on top of it. You're just going to fail. That's the technical part. Always be very strong in your fundamentals. For example, if you want to learn databases, learn what's the difference between RDBMS and a NoSQL first, and then only learn other things. Don't say, I know Mongo. That's just one part of the thing. If you have never worked with something like MySQL, just because you know Mongo, it doesn't make you the thing. And then again, like there are very basics, fundamentals, but important things that you need to learn. For example, CAP theorem, eventual consistency, and these things that will help you. As I said, technically those are the things. Just don't go on level 5. Start from level 1. Once you have level 1 good, then go to level 2 and 3 and 4 and 4. That's from a technical point of view. From a non-technical point of view, build your network. Your network is your net worth, right? So the first thing that you can do, especially if you are in a city like Sydney or Melbourne, go to meetup.com, look for tech meetups. I would argue there would be one tech meetup every other day. So now the strategy here is, if you are a student and you want to get into tech, make a habit or a goal of going to at least 2 meetups a month. That would be so in 12 months,
24.
or even like 10 months, it would be 20 meetups. And then every meetup you go, you add at least 4 people to your LinkedIn. So that equates to 80 people on your LinkedIn by the end of the year.
Okay, I'll just add stuff here. Yeah, sorry guys. Okay, I remember my first meetup, I think in 2015 or 16. And I went to meetup. I knew I had to grow my network. By that time, I did not have any friend who is a programmer. I was already working as a programmer, but I didn't have any. And I was a little bit consider myself a introvert person. So how an introvert now can go to the meetup and have that LinkedIn connection going on?
Easy.
What do you suggest?
Easy. So whenever you go to a meetup, generally before the meetup or after the meetup, there is food and
general
discussion time, right?
Yeah.
So you need to scan the room, and then you need to figure out a group that would be that where you would go in easily, right? So generally in these like meeting like networking places, there would be 3 or 4 group of people discussing some topic. You just need to get in the group, be part of the topic, and then towards the end find 2 or 3 people you could add to the to your LinkedIn. And that's where you could go to 2 or 3 groups and then have that. I mean, it's if you're an introvert, it's not very easy, but then you have to think, why are you doing it? You are doing it to expand your network, eventually land a job, right? So if your target is to get a 6-figure salary job within 3 years and you are not able to do that, that means you need to get over a fear. Exactly. As simple as that.
Yeah. So, and I remember I was just wandering around there. I have no idea what is going on in the meetup. My focus is how to get the connection. And in that, there was like a before event, after event, and then little bit break in between. So first, I just scanned through the room, and next break, I try to find isolated person like me who is just standing alone. And then I approach to them and then say, hey, is this your first time? It's my first time. And then that guy is less talking than me, so it didn't work out. And then I applied same thing to another person, and then he was a bit more talking. And that was my starting journey of the meetup. And that really helped. And guys, meetup has brought me so much opportunities. Even I had few startups, some worked well, some failed. It all came through the meetups and especially hackathons.
Yeah, like meetups are a win-win for you most of the time, if not all the time. You get to meet amazing people. You would surely learn at least one thing new because there would be generally a couple of talks. So you would surely learn at least one thing new. You get free food and drinks. Why not, right? And then you get to expand your network. Like for that, if you don't want to do it in your first meetup, it's fine. Go in, test the waters for a couple of meetups, and then understand the lay of the land. And from the 3rd or the 4th meetup, you could start getting into talking to people, and then exactly
just build yourself.
Or just get a friend with you. Then at least for a couple of meetups, you have someone besides you. Then you could just mingle within yourself for a couple of meetups, but don't do that for the next 10 meetups. By that, then your goal of 80 people in LinkedIn within a year is not going to happen, right?
Yeah,
so everything is like setting a goal, making it easy for you, and then doing it gradually. Like nothing changes. Rome was not built in a day, so nothing changes in just one go. You have to like gradually and very incrementally make it easy for you as well.
Okay, and last question, unless another one comes up. So, especially being immigrant here, I met a lot of international students studying IT, and some of them even have experience coming from overseas. So, being ourselves international talent, what would you suggest to international students, how they should approach, how they should set up their mindset to build their career? It's not just the study journey and then blend it in whatever you are currently doing. Also start thinking right way from now so that you can build a career in next 1 year, 2 year, or 3 years, whatever your studies.
Nice. I think that's another good thing to see. So I guess like get acquainted or get more information of the technology landscape that you have. Again, meetups are a very good way to do that, right? As I said, if you're a student and you are not willing to invest 2 evenings a month, maybe that's a very under investment for a career that could pay you 6 figures in 3 years.
Exactly.
Like show me one career which is not tech that's going to pay you like 6 figures in 2 or 3 years. Almost probably nothing unless you become a doctor.
Exactly.
Right? So that's where if you see that lucrative opportunity, you have to jump on it, number one. Number two is maybe you are in your mid-20s by now when even if you are a master's student, right? And let's say if you have 2 years of experience back home, maybe it's in Nepal or some other country that you came from, right? So 4 years of bachelor's, 2 years of experience, and 2 years of master's, 8 years. If you are 24, 33% of your life you have spent in IT. Why don't you want to spend the other important parts of your life in tech or IT? As I said, which is very lucrative, flexible, and then it's very fulfilling as well because it's a very satisfying job. So that's where those are the two things. Now, without chewing any words, the fact is most international students here are coming to get a permanent residency. right? Without making it any further difficult. So that is a goal as well as a door to a lot of things. For instance, as I already said, very big companies, they wouldn't even look at your resume or CV if you don't have a permanent residency plus, because they don't want to go through the hassle of sponsoring and all of that.
True.
So that's where you have to get these two goals kind of aligned, your technical and your networking goals as well. But if you want to stay in this country, you want to have, you surely need a legal visa status, which is probably ultimately a permanent residency.
True.
And with the current changes that the government is slating, probably by the end of 2024, you will need to get that permanent residency somehow. And the government is basically saying, if you studied tech, you need
should
to work
in the tech.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and then that's your path to get
I think
to the
that's
permanent
government is literally doing favor to those who is studying IT, because I have seen a lot of people who have done IT and they end up working to the supermarket or the other industry, and they become to the management level, and then they settle the life there, and they always regret that shit. I should have pursue my career. I would have better life. I know some of them are very happy. I mean, no career is good or bad. Every career is good as long as you enjoy working on that. But if you are already spending 7-8 years on the tech space, why not to build a career in that?
Exactly. So again, I think the other thing that Indian students would need to understand, of course, technically we have talked about things, you need to do this, you need, but from a visa point of view, what you need to learn or what you need to understand a bit more or do your research on is going the 189, 190 rat race path, points, numbers game path is not the only way you have, right? What you could do is you could, if you have prior experience, 2 or 3 years of experience, and then you could think of even while you are a student, if the master's is not very, very important for you, you could jump into something like a 482 visa. And with the current government's changes, what it can do is, if you work for the same employer, similar position for 2 years now, I think it has been deducted from 3 to 2 years, you could get a permanent residency from the employer, which is called the 186 TRT, right? So don't just go where everyone is going. Try to think out of the box, right?
Exactly.
And then,
maybe ask you like a migration agent.
Exactly. Go and ask a migration. Exactly.
Much better. But remember one thing, like the key is your technical skill. If you don't have technical skill, you are not opening the job market first. Gain that and gain experience on that, and then explore all the position. And importantly, surround with the people, like-minded people, developer, already working developer, or want to be a developers. And then only I think everything will start unfolding.
And I think same thing, like leverage your network. Like the people that you know from your college and or the people, if you are enrolled in a boot camp, the people that you know from a boot camp or even alumni of the boot camp or the college, if you can get a hold of that, do that. If you can get a mentor who is probably 2 or 3 years,
that's the best.
2 or 3 years like ahead of you, generally 2, 3 years, 5 years ahead of you, is a very good person to contact. That doesn't mean that you need to have a chat every other week or something like that. You could schedule it every 2 months or 3 months, but then keep it a cadence, keep it for a year, and I guess you would learn a lot because they have gone through that.
Exactly.
So they have a lot more insight and experience.
There are a lot of like people who wants to suggest you good thing, because they know how hard it was for them to learn.
Because they have gone through that.
Exactly. So if you have time, if you find right mentor, that's best. If not, find mentors. There are paid mentors as well, even paid boot camps. Find out, see what suits you, but just do something every day to move your needle.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so guys, we are into the this podcast, and I'm gonna start this new thing. Ask me a question as well. So, do you want to ask me any question that I can answer here? Is there any answer do you want to ask me? So, let's see.
How did you actually end up deciding to start your own business or a company and a boot camp?
So that's a very important question. It's gonna take like long time to explain, guys.
Summarize.
Basically, what happened is 5-7 years ago, my mindset was working is best. Starting business is just a stress. Business is not something you should do. That was my mindset. But later on, I start hitting on that level of on my career that I start getting bored, kind of thing. Everything is kind of becoming repetitive. Once you have worn the different hats of in the software industry, there's only few things. I mean, either unless you go to the challenging different role, otherwise you're gonna feel like pretty much settled. So I want more challenging stuff. And then that's why I started exploring, and I started going to meetups and hackathons. And I used to introduce like this because I believe we could create some product that can change it or make also big money, even though I didn't have mindset yet. But when I started going to the meetup in hackathon, I used to introduce myself. Hey, I'm a software engineer. I can pretty much build any system. If you have any business idea, let's build it. So that you invest your idea, I invest my technical skill, and we build a project, and let's make money.
Right.
So that's where I started more getting into the business, and actually we work on a few startups. I have even worked like almost entire year, not sleeping enough, build the startup, and then due to the government law and change, we could not make money. The startup was, the valuation was $1 million. Somebody wanted to pay $400,000, but we said, no, we want to have the higher money. But later on, due to the law, well, we didn't make money. Well, we learned quite a lot of things, and that's why my business mindset started hitting. Okay, I need to work on the building startup. Working for others is not what I want to see myself in long term. Then I started realizing that. And then during that building startups, I had few different ideas, and I said, okay, I want to build some startup, but it's gonna, like in the past I learned, I spent 1 year building entire startup, every thing part of the system, but it then failed. How about if I fail faster by developing the system faster, and also we call it MVP, minimum viable product, so that we can show to the prospect user or the investor, see if this is something product market fit is there or not. If not, just quit it. So my plan was, okay, I'll hire 3 full stack developer as an intern, especially who is currently studying or has completed the degree, and I will teach them for 3 months, and next 3 months I'll get them to build it. So by doing this, I see I could save my time, 50% time, and if that startup become worthy in the market, and if I can get VC, because I had a partner at that time, still we are good friend. So if I can get some VC invest on that, I want to hire them as a full-time or part-time. That was my initial start. But when I was opening this opportunity in our community via Facebook group, and also the, I think, what do you call Gumtree? I don't know. People use Gumtree nowadays or not. Okay. It was very popular back in days. Yeah. And then I got more than 100 applications. Yeah. And when I looked through it, I know a lot of other community also watching this podcast, but I'm not trying to be what you call separating here, biased. But somehow I wanted to see, because I'm being Nepalese, I wanted to see more people, Nepalese people in my team. Yeah, when I started. But I see less than 5% Nepalese application. And then they were not fully qualified, so of course I didn't hire them. So basically I had to just start building that project myself. Later on, of course, it was dropped out. But what happened is that I got curious, why only get less than 5% application from Nepalese community? And then I started asking this question into our Facebook groups, and I saw so like a sad answer. When I put, hey, this was the case, I put the application, but I see less than 5% our community actually applying. And then what answer I heard from the people in the group, probably some are existing still in the Facebook group, I need to go find out. They say, Nepalese, they believe more on their physical strength than mental strength. Hold on. And then they say they feel that they don't deserve the white collar job. Okay. It was in 2018 or 19, yeah? And then they think that's the 2 main things that really hit me hard, yeah? They say they believe more in physical strength than mental strength. They believe they don't deserve the white collar job, and they also say that, okay, they don't have a visa condition, and some of the good like a supportive comment, and some of them really attacking comment. So only looking into that few points, because I was myself as an international student, I had, well, created the job myself, and that was a long other story we can go. But I know what exactly happens in the industry. So the answer coming from somebody who has not been in the industry, they don't know the hiring life cycle, how the industry works, and that started bothering me. And then in I think few months passed, and if I didn't have that knowledge, the information, that wouldn't have bothered me. But since I know what is causing the issue there, and then because I am already in the industry, I know what exactly it takes to get into the industry, and having that wrong information, we have really talented people, they are wasting their talent, or Maybe they are making more money than developer, but they are not happy. So I start feeling like I'm responsible now. Like it's a universe calling me, waking me. And then I started realizing that, and I started taking responsible. Okay, I come to know this because maybe this is my responsible. And that's where I started thinking how I can help them. I did a lot of research. I found out there are boot camps. Yeah. And when I look into the price, it was like 20,000 plus.
Yeah.
I said, no way anybody can afford. And then I done research. I spent 6 month time, my part-time times, to create the bootcamp curriculum. And then I offer free training for 10 people. And actually we started, and what happened was that I think the COVID started hitting, and these 10 students who I was mentoring, first month they were very excited, I was excited as well, and they were learning it. But after first month, they start dropping because the complexity is increasing on the programming. And then of course, because it was not in face-to-face, I couldn't even put most time because I had limited time as well. And it didn't work out. We still have good relation with those students, but it didn't work out. And I did more research. What can I do? First thing I figure out, okay, I need to put more time. And then second thing I also figure out from one of my mentors, people only pay when they pay attention. I mean, people only pay attention when they pay.
Yeah.
So that's why I started changing this into the paying model, because it did not work. And then since then, yeah, I started working, and I quit everything back around that time. I already quit my job. I started working as my own software development agency, but I saw this is something I need to work on first. I can always start my software agency, but we need to create more developers, create more engineers, and then with that, so I made one mission saying that by 2030, I want to build our community the most advanced and successful community through the education and technology. And that was my mission. That's where Dended Code was started.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Great story.
So that was like a lot of things happening along the way. And yeah, so, okay guys, again, if you want to build your career, don't hold up. Start doing, practicing, or reaching out. See like-minded people and grow your connection. So last thing, how people can find you if they want to reach you out.
I am only on LinkedIn, and I don't use any of the other social medias.
No TikTok?
No, I don't use any of that. And yeah, and if you want, you can follow me on my blog. I blog lots of stuff on geshan.com.np, and those two things would be.
So yeah, we will somehow add somewhere in the screen.
Sure.
So yeah. All right. Thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you next. Bye.
See ya.